So I went on a trip last weekend, and when I pulled into the driveway, there was a strange car that I had never seen parked in my driveway. Immediately, I can feel my nervous system activating because I'm a single female. Up until that point, I was living alone. I imagined that someone was in my house. So immediately, my instincts kicked in. My primal instincts. I blocked in the car. I started to call the police. My neighbor comes over and he says, "Oh, this is the other neighbor. The lawn people were in his driveway, so he just parked in your driveway. We never know when you're home." I was a little defensive because, the first words out of my mouth were, my house is still my house, even when I'm not home. And I would appreciate if you park in my driveway to shoot me a text to let me know who it is that's in my driveway. And I could still feel that activated part of me that was still like, okay, single female, there's someone in my house, and I didn't share that with him, but that's what I was feeling in my body. And then I go to my neighbor whose car it is, and I say, "Hey, can you move your car out of the driveway?" And again, the first words out of his mouth, "Well, we never know when you're home." And again, I feel myself irritated. And so I again reiterate that, hey, it's fine. I would just appreciate a text so that I know whose car it is that's parked in my driveway. And so I get into my house and my body is still activated. I can still feel a little bit of a shake in my body. I'm a psychologist, so I start to okay, what's happening here? And I started to peel it back, and there have been several incidents in my life that this triggered. I had an incident where someone had rang my doorbell, and when I answered the doorbell, they grabbed my hair and literally started beating me. So there's a home invasion. And then I had another home invasion where someone smashed out my windows, and literally I was hiding under the bed waiting for the cops to come while these people were in my home. I also had another incident where I came home and someone was trying to lift up my garage door. My garage led directly into my house. When I was in Sierra Leone, my friend was murdered while he was sleeping. And so all of these incidents are kind of primed in my system. And our system is designed that when things look like other things that have happened, it kicks us into the survival mode. It activates okay, it looks like this, we need you to react quickly. This is why my system automatically went, okay, call the police. And then I started to think about what else got activated in me. Because as my neighbor, instead of saying, "Hey, yeah, sorry, we should have sent you a text, we both have your cell phone number," the automatic response was, "Well, we never know when you're home." I know what that activated in me is, as a female living in our society, and someone who has been the victim of things like sexual assault, there's this part of me that feels like people often take whatever they want, and there's no consideration of me or my boundaries. And so this is part of what got activated in me, because the first person's response was, "Well, we never know when you're home, so we basically do what we want at your house." And then the second person, again, the response is, "Well, we never know when you're home." This is killing me. Why? It's such a simple thing. If I'm going to park in someone's driveway, I would send them a text or knock on their door and say, "Hey, lawn people here, do you mind if I park in your driveway?" And that's an easy thing to discuss, and it would have alleviated all my fears, because when I came home after being gone for the weekend, I would have known, okay, this is my neighbor's car, I'm safe, this is not a threat. And so it really got me to thinking about a lot of different things, one of them being boundaries, and respecting each other's boundaries, and not assuming that we can just take whatever we want, no matter how small it is. It was just parking in my driveway, but it's still my property. And then respecting each other's boundaries. So when I said, "Hey, that's fine," I would just ask that if you're going to park in my driveway, that you send me a text so that I know whose car it is in my driveway. It's a matter of accountability, and it's a matter of, this is how we stay in relationship. And what I often find is that people automatically get defensive. They want to defend themselves. And this is not about defending yourself. This is about owning, "Oh, yeah, I probably shouldn't have done that. It would have been easy for me to send you a text and just just ask if I can park in your driveway. Owning it instead of trying to deflect it or even invalidating the way a person feels, because that's what I felt was invalidated. I'm like, this is my property. I don't understand why I'm having to basically defend my property, and why my request is being met with resistance, and why my request is being put back on me as if I'm asking something that's irrational, or like I'm just being overly sensitive. Because I think that's often the way we treat each other. You know, we'll say things like, oh, they're such a snowflake, or they're so sensitive, and you know, oh, this and that. And I go, how hard is it to just respect each other's boundaries? And I get it, because when people call me on when I have stepped over boundaries, you know, there's a part of me that gets activated, that part that says, man, you really messed up. And of course you want to defend yourself. You don't want to be that guy that's stepping over people's boundaries, or that guy that's rude or inconsiderate to your neighbors. And so this part comes up that wants to protect you against potential attack. And what I'm inviting us to do is, when there's a rupture, so when someone comes to us and they say, hey, you know, like, this didn't feel good. Could we discuss this as neighbors? Could we discuss boundaries? Could we discuss how we can fix this to get back to being in loving relationship and neighborly relationships? That we hear that, and that maybe that protector will still come up wanting to defend our honor, but just going, yeah, I hear you. And what they're saying is not that I'm a bad person. They're just saying that what I did didn't feel good to them. So let's discuss it, and let's figure out how we can get back into loving relationship. And so this is what I'm inviting you to do, to stay curious with each other. When that defensive part comes up, let's just go, okay, how can I love you better? And this is really what I want for us. I want us to stay in loving relationship. I want us to choose love. And so if this is something that you'd like to learn more about, because a lot of times I use the word ignorant, but when I say ignorant, I just mean it's a part of you that hasn't been educated. Maybe it's a part of you that needs to be sensitized. Because a lot of people, when I told this story, they're like, man, I never would have even thought about that. You know, like, it seems like such a small thing, parking in someone else's driveway. But I can see where, you know, you as a single female, or me as a widow, you know, would feel uncomfortable with finding a strange car in my driveway. So for me, this is about education. As we educate each other and we start to be sensitized to how our actions can potentially affect people, this is what we call in therapy trauma-informed. It's kind of a term that gets thrown around a lot. And all trauma-informed means is that understand that probably most of the people that you're going to come in contact with have some sort of trauma. And like I said, there's this part of your brain that anything that looks like that trauma, it starts to react. And so trauma-informed just means be aware that a lot of people have trauma, and be sensitive to that, you know, and be able to hold when they do get activated. It's not yours to necessarily own, but it's going, oh, okay, I didn't realize that. I want to stay in relationship with you. That's such an easy request. Like, I can totally text you if I want to park in your driveway again. So that's what I call it trauma-informed relating. So understanding that the people that we're relating to may have traumas and things that may trigger them, and that, you know, to respect them and to respect their boundaries, which may or may not be the same as our own boundaries. You know, some people may say, I don't care who parks in my driveway. You know, and great, that's their boundary. But it's really this going, okay, like, I respect you, I respect what you've gone through, and I want to stay in relationship with you. And so I'm going to own that, yes, okay, I totally hear you. And that's the first step. But also going, yeah, that's a boundary I think I can adhere to. That's something that I can do for you. And sometimes it's not. And we need to say that too, because then that kind of determines how we are in relationship to each other. But ultimately, the goal is for us to stay in loving relationship. And so if you would like to continue this conversation, to continue talking about how we can educate ourselves on how to love each other better, follow along on YouTube, hit subscribe, hit that little bell so you get notified when I send out a new video. And put your comments down below. Like, when have something happened to you where, the response was, oh, you're just being sensitive, oh, you're just overreacting, oh, you're this, you're that, and there was a part of you going, I just need you to hear me. So that's all I want, is to be heard. And then I want you to respect my boundary. So drop a note down below if this has happened to you. Let's discuss it, because in my mind, this is not about public shame. This is about educating and sensitizing each other to potential ways of interacting that may be impacting our neighbors. Okay, so this is what we've got for this week, and I hope that you go out there and America is choosing love.